Have you ever heard about Daisy's destruction? A phrase that might sound innocuous, even childlike, but it conceals a secret so dark it has shocked authorities worldwide. Daisy's destruction is not a tale for the faint-hearted. It's a story that unfolds in the underbelly of the internet, a place where the most monstrous of human behavior lurks in the shadows, hidden from the prying eyes of the law. This story begins with the discovery of a video bearing the same name, Daisy's destruction. The content, too horrifying to detail, involved the unimaginable abuse of a child, a grim testament to the depths of human cruelty. The footage, so disturbing that it was described as the worst law enforcement had encountered in their fight against child exploitation. Imagine the shock that gripped the authorities when they first laid eyes on this footage. The sheer horror of it, the realization of the extent of human depravity they were dealing with. The video was not just an isolated incident, it was a symptom of a much larger, much darker problem. It was streamed on a website, Hurt2, the core, a hub for unthinkable acts of violence, with an alarming 15,000 downloads a day. The discovery of Daisy's destruction sent shockwaves through the law enforcement community. It became a symbol, a haunting reminder of the evil that humans are capable of when they believe they are hidden from sight. It was a wake-up call, a call to action, a call to hunt down the perpetrators and bring them to justice. As the initial shock subsided, they realized that this was not just a case of finding the culprits. It was about unearthing an entire network of individuals who reveled in the sufferings of the innocent. The authorities had stumbled upon a terrifying world of darkness, a world they had to dismantle, piece by piece. Little did they know, this was only the beginning of a horrifying journey into the depths of human depravity. As the authorities started to dig deeper, they uncovered more than they had bargained for. The investigation was a labyrinth of darkness and depravity, a descent into the underbelly of human malevolence. It all started with the chilling video, Daisy's destruction. This infamous content was traced back to a man named Peter Scully and his girlfriend. Peter Scully, a man with a disturbing past, was the alleged director of this horrendous video. His girlfriend, a former child prostitute herself, was his accomplice in this heinous act. Together, they created content that shook the very core of humanity and its values. But who were these people, and how could they commit such atrocities? Scully was an Australian businessman who had fled to the Philippines after being charged with fraud. His girlfriend was a young woman who had been drawn into Scully's dark world. Together, they not only tortured innocent children, but also filmed these acts, creating a market for their vile content. The investigation led the authorities to Hurt2 the Core, a chillingly named website that was the hub of these inhumane videos. This website was a platform where people could watch and download these videos, contributing to a sickening industry of child exploitation. The videos were not only watched, but also downloaded with a shocking regularity. Every day, 15,000 downloads were made, each one a testament to the extent of human depravity. As the authorities delved deeper into the investigation, they unraveled a network of child exploitation that spanned across continents. Each piece of evidence, each revelation, was more horrific than the last. The scale of the operation was staggering, and the audacity of the perpetrators was equally shocking. This wasn't just a case of child exploitation, it was a testament to the darkest corners of the human psyche. Unbelievably, the worst was yet to come. As the investigation progressed, the authorities would find themselves face to face with a reality far more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. With a face to the crime, it was time to hunt down the man behind this horrific act. The international search for Peter Scully had begun. This was no ordinary manhunt. The hunt for Scully stretched across continents, involving numerous international law enforcement agencies, each one driven by the sheer horror of the acts committed and the urgent need to bring the culprit to justice. The manhunt was spearheaded by the Australian Federal Police and the Philippine National Police. They were determined to track down Scully, who had left a trail of terror that spanned across the globe. Scully, a businessman by trade, had managed to evade capture for quite some time, using his cunning and resources to remain one step ahead of the authorities. The authorities had to tread carefully, for every step they took was a step into the unknown, into the darkest corners of the internet. They had to navigate through the shadowy world of the dark web, a place where anonymity is the rule and where Scully had found refuge. The breakthrough came when Scully made a crucial mistake. He had sold one of his properties in the Philippines, leaving behind a paper trail that led the authorities right to him. The hunt had taken a turn, and the hunter was now the hunted. In February of 2015, the police tracked Scully to an apartment in the city of Malaybalay. After a brief standoff, Scully was arrested. The man behind the horror of Daisy's destruction was finally in custody. The international manhunt had come to an end, but this was only the beginning of a long journey towards justice. The world breathed a collective sigh of relief. The man responsible for such unspeakable acts was no longer free, but the damage had been done. The lives of countless innocent children had been irrevocably scarred by the actions of this one man. But justice was far from served. The capture of Peter Scully was just the first step. The road to justice was still long and fraught with challenges. The fight was far from over. As Scully stood in the courtroom, the world watched, waiting for justice to be served. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, a tangible mix of dread and hope. The trial of Peter Scully was not just a legal proceeding, it was a global phenomenon, a testament to humanity's collective rejection of the monstrous acts he had allegedly committed. Peter Scully was facing charges of child abuse and murder. These were no ordinary charges, and this was no ordinary trial. The allegations were so horrendous they shook the very foundations of our understanding of human morality. The public was appalled, outraged, and desperate for justice. The media, usually so adept at sensationalizing the news, found themselves at a loss for words. The headlines screamed of the horrors Scully had unleashed, but the articles themselves were filled with a stunned silence. The court, a place usually so clinical and detached, was suffused with a palpable sense of urgency and gravity. Everywhere, people held their breath, waiting, watching. The trial progressed with a grim determination. The prosecution presented its case, laying out the evidence against Scully. The defense did their best to counter the charges, but the weight of the allegations was overwhelming. The world watched as the trial unfolded, each day bringing us closer to a verdict. The courtroom became a stage on which a global drama was played out, a drama that would decide the fate of a man accused of unthinkable crimes. Throughout the trial, Scully maintained his innocence, but as the evidence piled up, his claims seemed increasingly hollow. The court, the public, the media, everyone was waiting for the moment of truth. Then, after weeks of testimonies, evidence, and counter-arguments, the trial reached its climax. The jury retired to consider their verdict. The world held its breath, waiting for the moment that would finally bring a sense of closure to a horrifying chapter in human history. Finally, the verdict was in. As the judge read out the verdict, the world held its breath. Peter Scully, the man behind the horrific video Daisy's Destruction, was sentenced for his appalling crimes. The court found him guilty on multiple counts, including child abuse and murder. His sentencing marked a pivotal moment in the fight against child pornography. In the aftermath of this case, there was a glimmer of hope. The girl featured in the video, long thought to be a victim of murder, was found alive and rescued. Her survival served as a beacon of resilience in the face of unthinkable horror. This case has had a profound impact on the global fight against child pornography. It has incited a renewed urgency in efforts to track down and prosecute those involved in such heinous acts. It has also highlighted the importance of online vigilance and the role of internet service providers in reporting suspicious activities. In the face of such evil, humanity must stand united, fighting for justice and protecting the innocent.